Okay, we're back once again. RoofCon 2024, Orange County Convention Center, Orlando, Florida. I believe this might be episode 9, 8, 7, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1. Since we started yesterday, day 2 of RoofCon, I got roped into a breakout already this morning. I guess there was a no-show. Topic was recruiting. I found that out as I got on stage. So I had plenty of time to prepare. But I actually needed that because I haven't been sleeping very well, traveling, stuff like that. And I haven't seen my wife in probably 2 weeks. And she's my best friend. So I tend to, start missing her and the kids and the family and the grandkids. We got 3 grandchildren now, and that's become a big part of my life. But anyhow, we're here, and I feel good now. I needed that icebreaker breakout, to kind of get myself out of myself for a minute and kind of pour into other people. And I think that's what a lot of this is about, right?
Of course.
Like pouring into other people, and identifying things like that. My problems aren't that big once I listen to your problems and stuff like that, and having the solution to help people, I think, is where I'm kind of at in the season of my life, pouring into people. And that's where this platform, this podcast has really allowed us to be able to bring really good, talented, smart people on our show to pour into other people. And I think we all three know we've been in the industry long enough that success is measured by the impact that we have on other people, right? So anyhow, to my left here, it's Carney Freifogel, right? This is our first time that we've actually got to meet personally, but I've met many people on your team before, whether it was at a home show. And I got to say that those guys have treated us always seriously. I don't know what shit they're talking behind our back, but at least to our faces. And we've been kind of neighbors and stuff too at these home shows. But like I think your team has actually been on our podcast because we set up at these home shows. Like they're good people. I just want you to know that when your back is turned, they're representing your company in a professional manner. So that says a lot about the leadership.
Yeah.
So
no, I appreciate that, man. And we obviously hear the same about you guys. It trickles down from the top.
Yeah.
And we try to create a family environment, and there's plenty of work to go around. I mean, we're all here in Florida right now. We're neighbors in York County, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And we can do more together than we can apart.
Yeah.
And I think that's what brings us all here. And we talked about the change of the industry a little bit before we jumped on here. And everything's merging, everything's coming together in like lightning speed. And you got to get with the right people. And if you get with the right people, you're going to be successful. And if you think that you know it all and you can do it all yourself, you're going to struggle.
Yeah.
So you gotta have some competitors that you can hang out with and collaborate with. And there's things that I'm going to learn from this conversation with you and Mike, and hopefully you guys can learn something from me, or the audience learn something. And that's why we're all here. We're here to learn. And if we're not growing, we're dying. So
that's right. Yeah, we're going. That's for damn sure. And that's the thing. Collaboration happens up here and competition happens down there. And I'm not casting that out as a negative, but I'm just saying, like, I have to be confident enough and humble enough to ask someone like you questions, just like you were asking Mike questions before we went live here. And Mike was as open as a book because we're confident in what we do, and there's plenty of work out here for all of us, right? And all ships rise in high tide, and it's okay to collaborate with other companies, and we've collaborated with local companies, whether it's gutter jobs, whatever the case might be. I even helped a company out up in Harrisburg. They were looking for labor, and I didn't charge them anything. I got a crew that's got 3 crews. Here's one. Mm-hmm. I think you're going to get a lot further in life when you can do that and not be such a dickhead all the time. I mean, I was a dick when I was younger. I get it. I've been in the industry 30 years. I've worked for dickheads. I've been the dickhead. I can still be a dickhead at times. I'm still very high performing, very, competitive, but that's what has driven us to be where we're at. And I'm sure you can relate to me. And I know Mike's a high driven, competitive guy. And that's why we gel so well, because our vision, our goals, and the things that we're trying to accomplish are the same, and our purpose is to have as much impact as we can on anybody and everybody. So why don't you tell us what's going on? So we got your hat up here, CR3, your local company contractor to the York County area, and C3 Exteriors, what I formerly have known you as. Is it still C3? And give us like that journey. It went from C3, and I think Mike's got a question for you about how C3 got started. But if you want, like, give us your version before.
I'm curious what he's gonna say.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it. I just want to hear the story from you.
Okay.
I've heard some things, and I know Henry building race cars and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So a story got told to me about how C3 got started around a bonfire one night, and kind of like a bet that had happened. And I was always curious to see if that was actually the way it went down.
I have no idea what you're talking about, so I don't think that's accurate.
Okay, good.
No, I mean, the Cliff Notes version of myself and the company is I've been around construction literally my entire life, much like a large majority of the people that are here. Ty, I don't know your background, but I would assume you've been around construction for quite some time. So been around since a very young age, building houses with my great-grandfather, grandfather, father, and I just saw a need in the exterior industry. I saw it was scalable. I saw what Mike and a couple of guys in our local community were able to do with a hailstorm, and it just seemed scalable. It seemed like something that was kind of rinse and repeat. As long as you could service customers and had a process that you could be pretty successful with it. So 2017, I decided to part ways from working with my father and go out on my own. And that's when I started C3, which you're familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first 4 years, we blossomed pretty quick. 4 years down the road, we were doing 15 million in annual. And this is back 2021, 2022. And you know what that environment looked like at that time. If you're doing over $10 million, private equity's beating down your door.
Mm-hmm.
Like every day, like they're calling my office, they're sending emails, and half my company probably thought I was going to sell. And it was a weird time because like I didn't want my people to think I was going anywhere. So at the time, I'm 26 years old, and private equity's sitting there, and this consolidation we're all talking about. I didn't know what to do. Do I sell? Is this my time? Right? Is this a couple $1 million is not going to be enough for me to live till I'm 70, 80 years old, God willing.
Right.
So we kind of looked at it for what it was, and we saw private equity for what it was and said, you know what, we're going to try and run with these guys, and we're going to try and build a large corporation. And we knew that the corporate model that we had was just not right for us. Trying to find managers, you're paying over 6 figures for these guys, and we wanted them to act like owners, but they don't act like owners all the time. You find a guy that acts like an owner, that's a dime a dozen. I mean, you got to really take care of that person. And it was super hard to scale at the rate that we wanted to, as fast as we wanted to. So we saw franchising as a great option to do that. So we went ahead in 2022, changed our focus from just being a corporate model to a franchise concept. In the spring of 2023, we were finally able to go to market, solicit new franchise owners, brought our first one on in the spring, and here we are about 14 months later. We got 20 locations, and we're about to start onboarding about 3 to 5 a month. So it's growing pretty quick. It's fun. It's exciting. It's new challenges. And for us, it's about 2 big things. And you kind of started to talk about it in the intro of this. It starts with the customer, one customer at a time. We have to do our very best to make sure that customer has the best experience, and we can retain that customer for life. So they're a referral source for life. They're coming back in 2 years because they need windows or siding or whatever it may be. And then we need happy, successful franchisees. Everybody at this table, all of our employees, we all have personal goals, and personal goals drive business results. So we need to figure out what these individuals are trying to achieve. And as long as we can help them achieve those goals, we call them happy, successful franchisees. We have great customers for life, happy, successful franchisees. We're going to be all right. So in a long-winded way, that's who I am, how we got where we are. And, I don't know the story you heard, but that don't ring a bell. We'll have to talk about that off air.
It's not a bad story.
All right.
Yeah. Mike, spin your base around and bring your mic a little closer to you, if you don't mind. It's picking up. Can you spin this base and spin? Yeah, see how my base is closer to me? That's okay.
He's got a big barrel chest. That's what's going on, man. He's keeping it away.
I'll bring it down.
Yeah.
I thought he had it all fixed.
I did too. Slacker. Yeah, that's the thing about going live. Sometimes you got to fix shit on the fly.
And fix here and save the day.
Well, let me ask you this. So, I've tossed around the idea of like rolling up other companies or going to, the franchise model. Did you contemplate like which way you should go, or were you just fixated on like, franchise model is the best way to go?
Yeah, I mean, when I make a decision or we make a decision as a group, we just kind of make it and run with it, and just try not to look back, because there's always that like new red shiny ball, and if we get caught up in that, we'll start working on a project, and then we'll go over here and we'll do this. I try to stay laser focused, and we just looked at it as a great way to scale and grow. We got introduced to a expert in the franchise space who's actually speaking at the breakout lunch here. John Hewitt is one of my partners. He founded and sold Jackson Hewitt, built and exited from Liberty Tax. So these are like massive franchise organizations. Got fortunate enough to get introduced to him, and we formed a partnership and just running with it, you know?
Okay. No, that's great. So what you're doing is you're essentially rolling up existing roofing companies. Is that accurate? Okay. So you're franchising an existing roofing company. So how do you vet that person? Like, what criteria do they have to meet?
They got to be coachable. I mean, almost like an employee, right? They're not employees. It's a much different relationship. But at the end of the day, when you look at a franchise concept, to be a great franchisor, you got to give them a great system and a great platform and a great brand to represent. To be a great franchisee, you have to be able to execute the play. Like imagine if you're trying to run a sports team and you have a play and everybody has a job to do, and one person doesn't do it, the play doesn't go well. You run the play right, you end up with a touchdown.
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing. Like we're looking for people who are coachable. Obviously, we want them to understand the industry. Trying to teach somebody how to be a roofing contractor from scratch is very difficult, especially when they're like imagine if Mike was all by himself down in Georgia and Mike had zero contracting skills and he had a problem. You don't want to jump on a plane and go solve this problem for him.
Yeah.
So we're looking for people who are obviously self-motivated entrepreneurs. They need a little bit of rocket fuel, but they have to be coachable and they have to be able to follow a system and understand that if I'm going to try to be an entrepreneur and I want to make all the decisions and I want to be that guy or that girl, it's probably not a good fit.
Yeah.
It's a business strategy that is right for a lot of people who don't want to reinvent the wheel and spend the millions of dollars that me and you have both spent in, I call it R&D.
Yeah.
We've spent millions of dollars on hiring the right and the wrong people and the wrong piece of technology and betting this and betting that. You don't have to do that anymore. People have already done it, whether you're going to roll them up like you guys are looking to do, whether it's a franchise. We have all done it, wrote the blueprint. We just need people to execute it and follow the play.
Yeah. So what do you think the most painful thing is? I would imagine, rebranding or cross branding. So, and again, I could be wrong, but walk us through like that transition. So if we were a roofing, because one of my friends, I think actually rolled up with you guys, and I think he'd been in business for 3 to 5 years, something like that. And he built a brand. It's a family company. And my first thought was, man, one, to let go of that family name or whatever it was, that was probably pretty difficult for him. But then rebranding in a different area or location, walk us through like what that looks like and what you provide to kind of propel or move that needle forward, because now it's essentially a new roofing contractor in a new area.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, you gotta have the marketing in place, right? You have to. We look at it as infiltrating that marketplace. Now, we're not ignorant about it in the sense that like it's our name. Now you're a part of us. We're just going to come in and flip the script upside down. Like we understand that when you build a name and a reputation in a local marketplace, like we'd be idiots to flip that upside down overnight. So we look at doing it responsibly. We roll it out, some press releases, let everybody know what's going on. Usually we'll do like, I'm going to use this example, but TC Backer, an affiliate of CR3, right? And then start to transition over like 365 days, educate the community. And then when there is a change, it's old news. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do it in a responsible way. But I mean, we take pride in what we do. We put a lot of work in it. We put a lot of work in developing a community and getting a name and a reputation in that industry. And it's hard to let go of that. And there's some people that simple thing alone it's a non-starter. And I can't fault them for that. I understand it completely. But looking at it from our point of view and as a benefit to the individual franchisees that do decide to make that change, would you rather be a independent location that sells chicken and your Mike's Chicken Stand, or would you rather own a Chick-fil-A?
Right.
And we're not there yet, right? We have 20 locations, which it sounds like a lot, but it's not when you look at the whole nation. I mean, it's minuscule. But as it continues to grow and the national marketing efforts get out there and people start seeing more trucks and more signs and more billboards and so on and so forth, eventually it becomes more of a household name. And there's a lot of power behind that brand versus just being an independent. So you have to really buy into it. It has to be right for you. And it's not right for everybody. And we get that. And a lot of people take pride in their name, and they should, because they put a lot of effort and energy, sweat, tears, and everything that it takes to build a company behind it. But if you're looking for it and it works, it works.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, we shake hands and say, hey, good luck.
Yeah, right on. Now, how do you replicate that? Because I know you're big on culture. So how do you replicate that culture to another company that's probably already had a culture, whether it was by default or something that previous owner had created, and how do you make sure that it continues down that same path?
Culture is the $1 billion conversation. I mean, if anybody can truly figure it out, they usually have a $1 billion brand. I mean, Chick-fil-A, we all sit here and talk about how great they are. You know what to expect, whether you're in the inner city of Detroit or you're in the backwoods of Pennsylvania, like you get the same result. And the culture that they have there is unmatched. It's difficult. Culture is one of the hardest things, in my opinion, in business to just get out there everywhere. And then it's even harder when you don't have direct ownership and you have somebody else running the play for you. So it's difficult, but it all starts at the top. If I, like you said it, if I treat people like a dick or I'm an asshole, then they're going to do the same. They're going to think that that's acceptable and that's the thing to do. If anybody ever gets squirrely, they have a disagreement with a customer, or they're dealing with a disgruntled employee, I take it upon myself and our team takes it upon ourselves to sit down with that person and say, okay, here's how we're going to handle it. Because these are people. These are humans. They have feelings. They have emotions, right? And it all starts at the top. And in my opinion, it's the repetitive nature. And you have to remind people, in my opinion, you have to remind people kind of how to act. And if they see you acting and behaving a certain way, then they'll start to, it'll trickle downhill. A small example of that, one of our employees, I was just talking about doing the right thing one time in a training. And whenever I'm driving down the road and it's like a windy day and we see like garbage cans scattered throughout the road, which we all see all the time, I take it upon myself still to this day to pull over, get out of my truck and take it and drag it off the road because I don't want people to run into it. And I try to live by this. I have this little thing with myself where I try to live as if people are watching me all the time. Like there's always eyes on me. And I want to make sure if there's eyes on me and I do the wrong thing, that never happens, right? I want to make sure they always see me doing the right thing. Next thing you know, 2 days later, my guy, Dallas, who works for me, who you're probably referring to at the shows that you see all the time, he said, hey, man, I just want to thank you. I was driving down the road. I saw his trash can. I didn't even really think twice about it. Then I thought about what you said. I pulled over, put the trash can up. I don't know if anybody saw me or not, but it made me feel better, right? Yeah. So going through those exercises, reminding people, I think it's just how you do it. And when you hold everybody to that standard, you got to hold yourself to that standard too. Of course. You can't say we have to do X, Y, Z, and then you're a totally different person off camera. You know what I mean? Yeah. You got to live it, breathe it.
How you do everything.
Yeah, exactly, man.
For sure. Mike, you have any questions for him?
No, I mean, it's just funny that he says that. I mean, I'm a big Andy Frisella fan.
Love Andy Frisella.
And the way he runs his business is the same way. Like, you lead by example. Like my office is, look, I'm not hiring a cleaning staff to clean the office.
Right.
Let's leave it better than we found it. And realizing through my growth in leadership is I got to be that example. And if you be that example, kind of like you said, it'll rub off eventually. People be like, this isn't acceptable. We're not doing things this way. We have to do, but you have to have that example and be that example. Of course. And I think a lot of people got to be open to that in growth. You know, you're always learning, always growing. And it's awesome to hear that standard is out there for other people as well.
Show up to a job site and start picking up the bundles from the shingle. I mean, the wrappers from the shingles. Just because you're the project manager or the sales guy doesn't mean that you're too good to pick up trash. Like keep it a clean job site. It's your job site. It's your name. It's your brand. It's your reputation. take responsibility. It's not just on everybody else to make sure it gets done right. It's on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's good. And I often think back early in my career, and I shared a little bit about this in that breakout that I was roped into earlier. Was because they have two people, it's them and two people, and he's like, well, how do I cast that vision and get buy-in from my team? And I was like, unfortunately, you got to be the first one there and the last one to leave. Like, just start there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And don't be afraid to jump in the trenches with your team. Like, let them know, like, you're building what I call a trust bank. And every now and then you do have to take a withdrawal from that trust bank, but you've deposited so much trust that, even if you got to deviate or pivot, they're bought in. But like, don't be afraid to put in the work, because I think we've come across like this easier, softer, make billions of dollars type of work-life blend culture that you hear all the time. And I'm sure you can relate. It's like, if you're trying to build something, or a dynasty, an empire, or just a freaking roofing company, you got to put in the work.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. I couldn't tell you how long that's going to be, but then there's also that fine balance of like, okay, now I need to start delegating some things too. But because you've put those 7 days in, 14 hours a day, and you've led by example with your team watching, because whether we know it or not, they are watching.
Of course.
Even when we don't think they're watching, and when we think they're watching, they're not, but they're watching when we don't think they're watching. They're watching our behaviors, how we treat people. Just like John's kind of trying to distract me right now by watching me. But this is the thing. I don't have to be at the office today. I'm not getting up any earlier, because now it became like this race of like who could get to the office early. Okay. And this was years ago. It was like Brandon comes in at like 4:30 or 5 or something. But I used to be there at like 5. Okay. And I think he got there at 4:30. I'm like, I'm not getting up at 3:30 to beat, or 3.
Nah.
You know what I mean? But that was the model that we've casted, because that was more so on the production side, because the production guys got to, they get out
Get
the
on
door.
the job site by 7 o'clock.
Yeah, right. A little earlier and stuff like that. And I managed the service department, the scheduling, all that stuff. And when I started to pass off and delegate things like that, that was just the standard. Oh, okay. So I have to be here at 5. Yeah. You need to get your shit together before the team starts showing up. You know what I mean? You can't show up the same time your team does, because now they're standing at the dock waiting for you for an hour, hour and a half. Been there, did that, right? Like, oh, you got to go to Myers and pick this shit up. No, it's already on the job site. You know what I mean? So leading by example is what has created, some of our culture. Of course, me not pulling out and taking withdrawals all the time too, and depleting that trust bank also helps too. And it's just cashing those checks over the years that my ass has written, you know what I mean? And leading by example says so much, and is a reflection of her company. Like, I would love to be able to take the credit just for this. I mean, this isn't an empire, but like, there for a minute, I did run around with a backpack 5, 6, 7 years ago. I was traveling with one microphone and a camera, which was probably my iPhone 8 at the time, and doing small little podcasts. But I implemented the same things here that I did with a roofing company,
Of course.
Led by example. Now, this is Vic's vision now.
Right.
My vision was big enough for Vic's vision dream to fit in. So now we're going for legacy. My legacy is big enough for Vic and anyone else's legacy that works for us, their legacy also to fit in. I hope I'm doing a good job for everyone else.
Right.
That's why I got to continuously think bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
You got to get their buy-in, but you made me think of something. So if you take, as a leader, we're all going to fuck up.
Yes.
Like we are, and our employees. And what I have noticed is when I assume responsibility for not just myself, but my team, even when they fuck up and something stupid, like we're like, how do you even do that? I'm like, well, we're responsible, because if they have done it, or they did it, somebody else, whether it's in 30 days from now or 10 years from now, is going to make the same mistake. So we need to make sure that never happens again. So that's on us, because clearly we didn't tell them, we didn't have a system in place for that. But what I have noticed is, through me assuming responsibility for not only myself, but every single person on my team, now when I say, oh no, yeah, you kind of messed up, but that's my fault. That's my responsibility that was even a thing. Then they'll argue with me. They'll say, no, it's not your fault. I fucked up.
Yeah.
Because now I'm getting them to show that, like, you need to own it.
Yeah.
You need to own it. I'll own it because I'm at the top, but I need you to own it as well. And when I show them that I'm responsible for everything that you do, they start to get a little defensive, and they're like, no. This isn't your fight. This is my fight.
Right.
And that starts to radiate off on everybody
Absolutely.
in the organization.
They
So it's
start
cool.
taking, like you said, ownership in it as well, and accountability, and taking accountability for their actions too. But the other thing is too, we have to show grace too when they do make mistakes. Like we have to
Of
become
course.
callous and be aware that, you know, through that mistake that there's going to come growth as well too. We had a situation come up a few weeks ago, and I got a phone call from somebody, and like, hey, I did this, and of course I didn't freak out, and it wasn't that big of a deal. I did the same thing myself, so why was I going to snap out?
Right.
And they even thanked me like for being so, you know, kind of and understanding. And it was like, I know you'll never do this again. I know this will never happen again. One, because I could feel their sorrow, like, oh man, I am so sorry. And just because of their response and how they reacted to the situation, I know for a fact that this will never happen again. And really, it wasn't that big to me. I thought, okay, you didn't cost me $1 million, or you
Right,
like,
right.
okay, a leaky roof like that.
Right.
I mean,
No harm, no foul.
yeah,
man.
right. Exactly. So, but my point is that, you know, I have to show grace too, and know when to show grace, but I also need to know when I need to stick my foot up somebody's ass
Right.
justifiably too. And I think that differentiating those two, because they need to know if I'm pissed, there's a problem. If I get the call and I need to come in here and I need to start cracking skulls, like there's an issue here. Yeah. But we've put people in place too, where it's like, if it does get to me, that means I probably need to be in a courtroom.
Right.
You know, call the insurance company, call my attorney and shit like that.
I got a fun one for you. What's the craziest shit that's ever happened that led to you guys like either losing a roofing project or like, I could write a book on some of the crazy stuff I've seen throughout the years with my team, and like I know it happens to everybody.
I think
You can ask me the same question and I'll answer it honestly.
I think off the top of my head, I think installing the wrong roof.
I've done that like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah,
now.
and then
Crazy.
and
that
then
it's even a fucking thing.
and not just that, but they actually ended up paying for it.
Now that's good.
Yeah, convincing them that was a good idea, that they needed a new roof. That was probably the slickest, most worst conversation that I ever had to have. And then explaining to the homeowner why we were 2 days late getting to the initial job we were supposed to do.
You could have a roundtable conversation with guys, and we'd all have belly cramps from laughing so hard.
Yeah,
we had a project that was a real estate transaction, and before they closed, they wanted to have a contractor because they wanted the dollar amount for the transaction and how much money is it going to cost, and it was like a $19,000 roof replacement. It was actually a buddy of mine, and right before they were about to settle, like 2 or 3 days before, we got a phone call that they needed to cancel the contract. Well, it was around this time. It was like, I think it was last year. It was around this time, which is in the Northeast with whitetail buck. It's mating season. They started to get a little fired up, started to do some crazy stuff. Well, a whitetail deer buck jumped through a bay window, it was a vacant house, got in the vacant house, tore the house to pieces. It shit all over the place, tore the drywall to pieces. Imagine a wild deer caged up in a house.
Yeah, right.
wow.
Went crazy, and yeah, we had to cancel the contract because obviously they didn't move forward with buying the house.
Of course not.
And I had a deer destroy a $20,000 contract.
Yeah, that's probably one of the wildest.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, off the top of my head, I think that's probably one of the worst feelings there for a minute, that trying to navigate through that. Yeah.
Yeah, but what do you do, man? You got to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you resolved it. Clearly, you resolved it.
The people
in a
were
way that was a
totally
win for both
understanding,
of you.
because what happened was the GPS, and they must have been used to it. The GPS, everybody's GPS must take them to their house,
Same thing
opposed
happened.
to the neighbor's house. So they were totally understanding about it. Now, I think we sold it to them at cost, but at least
Yeah, of course.
we were able to recoup, the cost of the project itself. We didn't make anything on it. But yeah, that was a tough one.
We were doing a house up on a hill, and the Google Maps took you to a house that was like directly in front of it. The house was way up on a hill,
Mhm.
and crew shows up 7:00, and I'm waiting there. This is like in the early days. I'm sitting there. 7:30 rolls around. I'm like, man, where are my guys at? I text them, and the guy, the main guy, said, I just got done at the dump. I'm dumping the dump truck.
Oh, no.
I'll be there. And
Okay.
I didn't think anything of it. I thought he
Yeah.
had the guys.
Yeah.
I start listening. I'm like, really sounds like somebody tearing a roof off. That's
In the
kind of
background.
ironic.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, and I called him again at like 8:00. I'm like, dude, where are you at? He said, the guys are there. I said, they're not here. He said, I'm telling you, they're there. They're tearing the roof
no.
off. And then it clicked. Then I go running down over the hill. I'm like, you guys are tearing off the wrong roof. They said, no, we're not. I said, how are you going to tell me that you're not tearing off the wrong roof? I'm the one who sent you here.
Yeah.
And same thing that now we tore off the whole back, papered everything in, we upgraded everything and put it all back together before they came home, and met with them, sat down, had a conversation, and we're like, hey, I don't know how it happened. I apologize, but like, here's all the photo documentation. We'll give you a warranty on the back of it, and try and do whatever you can, and ask for a little bit of grace along the way.
Exactly. How
But it
about you?
happens. It's so funny how that happens.
I've never had a wrong roof installed. That's one of my biggest fears. I didn't want to be
Yeah.
I didn't want to be in that conversation. We had a rainstorm come through in Reading, and roof tore off, didn't get it tarped in, and that was a fun phone call.
Oh, I bet.
For sure. So I had to go up there and talk with the customer. And I found most of the time, man, if you just have a conversation with the customer, look, this happens, shouldn't happen. Things do happen. We're going to walk through the process and get everything done and taken care of properly and get you back, better than you were. It's usually not that bad of a conversation.
The difference between a good company and a great company.
Yeah.
Like we're all going to have problems. We're all going to have bad projects. And what you do when you're faced with adversity is what makes you a great company or a great owner or a great individual. And we can't control it. It's one of those non-controllables. You try and do everything that you can, but when it does happen, how do you handle the situation is what's going to make sure that you don't have a short shelf life.
Yeah.
But customer first, no matter what.
Always.
Problems, issues, it's customer first. We'll figure that out on the on the other
Absolutely.
side.
Yeah. That's the thing. Sometimes you just got to take it on the chin, and again, this is leading by example. I know Glenn, who's our general manager up in York, there's been some, I'm sure, hard decisions that he had to make, but probably because of our, previous behaviors and conversations and stuff, it made it easy for him to make the right decision, no matter what, take care of the customer, right?
Yep.
Not that they're always right, but if we have played a part in it, then we just need to make it right. And maybe end up with a good review, maybe a referral later. I mean, I don't know how many times I can count on both hands and both feet where we've turned, lemonade, out of lemons, so many times now. There are those people that you just can't, even though you went over and beyond. It's almost like they're maliciously trying to sabotage the whole entire situation.
We just had one not long ago. Got a 1-star review. And I'm like,
that came out of nowhere.
Like, where do we get a 1-star? And of course, it's hey, we got a 1-star review. Like, what the hell happened? And
Right.
I called the sales rep and I was like, man, like, where's the communication? Like, I didn't know about, we had a disgruntled customer. Her communication wasn't the greatest. So I met with her and I was like, she had a couple concerns through the process. And so I walked her through those, took care of all of her concerns. We finished the project out and went from a 1 to a 4.8.
Right.
And, in my book, that's a win. But sometimes it's just that conversation is, hey, whether your communication was good with us or not, it really doesn't matter. It's what's the issue. Let's get it taken care of. We're concerned. Like, we want to make sure you're 100% happy, with the project and everything that we're doing. So like you have said before, you're a repeat customer.
Yeah.
You don't have to go out and try to find somebody else to do whatever work you need done. You're giving us a call.
Absolutely.
That's the thing with brain fart. I had a thought, man. I was gonna run with it.
It goes.
Yeah,
Shit.
it happens. That's okay. Well, I mean, this has been a great conversation, and we'll have you back on the show before we
I'd
get
love
off
to be
here.
back.
Yeah, and wrap this up. But what would you like to leave with our listeners here? A golden nugget, a golden egg?
What's your audience? Is it mostly roofing contractors?
Yeah.
And contractors?
Yeah.
Time is a part of the equation, no matter what. Like you're not going to avoid it. We all are after something. It looks different. Everybody at this table has a goal. My goal is probably a little bit different than yours, and vice versa. Everybody has a dream and a goal, but you need to understand that time is a part of the equation, and you need to put in the work. And depending on the amount of time that you put in, it's like compounding interest. The more time that you put in, the further down the road that you're going to get. And we live in a society that is just so impatient. I can go on my phone and I can Google and I can get the answer for anything that I want right now. And it's hard, especially when you're younger. You just want it. You want it now, right? And everybody is just after instant gratification. They think they're going to have a $10 million roofing company in 3 years, and it can happen. Or everybody thinks like, we talk to people all the time with what we do. Everybody wants to grow a $50 million roofing company. And I'm not saying that it can't be done or they're not the ones to do it, but everybody thinks they can do it in 5 years.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. So you need to understand that time is a part of the equation. You can't avoid it. And the time that it takes for you to do something and me to do something, it could be different. You could do it quicker than me.
Yeah.
And just understand that you have to put in the reps. You're not going to be great. And if you're trying to grow, you are going to make mistakes. You're constantly going to be in a state of not knowing what you're doing. Every time that you open a new location or I open a new location or you hire a new person, we are all facing a brand new challenge that we've never faced before. So understand it's never going to be perfect. The time's never going to be perfect. You just got to put in the work. And as long as you show up and continue to execute over and over and over again, you will eventually get where you want to go, but it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Time takes time. Stay consistent. Make sure you're disciplined. Without discipline, you won't have consistency. And through pain comes growth.
That's it.
You know what I mean? What a great. Thank you.
Thank you. I
coming
appreciate you for having me on.
Yeah, thank
Great
you.
to see you again,
Yeah,
Mike.
it's good seeing you too, man.
Yeah, thank you guys. If you haven't liked, loved, shared, commented, if there's a topic that you guys want to listen to, please comment in the comment section there, and we'll review it hopefully sometime this week. If not, we'll get around to it. But until then, stay safe. And I think we're going to be going live again around 1 o'clock, maybe. If not, I know I'm going to be on Erico's podcast, I think around 3 o'clock. So till then, stay safe and be rad.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep.